Okay, so this deep dive, it takes us into some heavy territory, shame, regret, all that.
Yeah.
How societal expectations around intimacy can really mess with our heads.
Yeah.
All starting with, well, this Reddit post that just kind of blew up.
Right.
It sparked a lot of debate, a lot of different reactions.
Yeah, it is fascinating how just one single post
Mm-hmm.
can be like a lightning rod for these really deeply personal struggles.
Absolutely. The post is from a 31-year-old man, never had a girlfriend, talks about feeling isolated and how
Okay.
he ended up hiring a sex worker.
Wow.
But then he's hit with this wave of guilt, goes back to apologize, even gives her a large sum of money.
Oh, wow.
Now he's convinced he's, quote, ruined his life, unquote, and that he'll never find love.
Oh, you can just feel the rawness and vulnerability just in his words. It's like he's bearing his soul almost to this huge online audience, just desperate for someone to understand.
And the reactions,
Yeah.
they are all over the map.
Right.
You've got people making light of it, cracking jokes, which feels, I don't know, a little harsh maybe.
Yeah.
And then you've got people who are offering genuine support, urging him to forgive himself.
Yeah.
Questioning those rigid societal norms he seems so tangled up in.
I think what's interesting is that there's this whole segment of commenters who seem genuinely concerned for him, like his emotional well-being.
Right.
They're questioning the logic of his actions.
Yeah.
Especially that part about giving her the money.
Yeah.
It's like they're sensing there's something, like a deeper level of distress there.
Like everyone is bringing their own baggage to the table, almost projecting their own experiences and beliefs about intimacy.
Their own morality.
Yeah, exactly.
The way they see relationships.
Exactly.
It's important to remember, right, that shame and guilt, they're complex emotions.
Yeah. Often stem from, a combination of factors. In this case, I think you've got societal pressures around virginity. Yeah. The stigma surrounding sex work, obviously.
Right.
And even, his involvement in these communities like NoFap and Christianity, which, often promote very strict views on sexuality. Yeah. All of these things could be amplifying these feelings for him.
Yeah, he mentions feeling, stuck, ashamed, worried about confessing this on a first date even.
Right.
He uses the phrase, ruined my life.
That language is so loaded, wouldn't you say?
Totally.
It reveals this really deep-seated belief that this one experience, this single experience, has irrevocably tarnished him.
This brings us to, I think, a really important question, one that I hope our listeners will reflect on.
Yeah.
How much weight do we as individuals and as a society place on past experiences, especially when it comes to romantic relationships? Yeah.
Are we holding ourselves and others hostage to these outdated expectations that might be doing more harm than good?
This case really raises this interesting question about how we define baggage in relationships. Yeah. Is it truly about specific actions, or is it more about our capacity for self-awareness, growth, and empathy?
That's a fantastic point.
Right.
And what about the woman in all of this? We only have his side.
Right.
His apology, while possibly well-intentioned, it could be interpreted in so many ways, Right. Was it genuine remorse? Or was it fueled by his own shame, projecting his discomfort onto her?
Yeah, it's impossible to know her perspective. We can't really.
Right.
But it shines a light on the complexity of the situation, Yeah. His guilt, it might be rooted in the very stigma surrounding sex work.
Right.
That he's now trying to alleviate.
Right.
Through this grand gesture. It's a bit of a paradox, wouldn't you say?
It really is. It's like he's caught in this cycle of societal judgment and self-punishment, and he can't see a way out.
Yeah, he's internalized these beliefs so deeply that they're dictating his reality.
And that's precisely why examining those deeply ingrained societal expectations is so crucial,
Absolutely.
Are we perpetuating as a society these harmful narratives that prevent people from seeking healthy intimacy, genuine connection?
Big question.
That's a question we'll delve into even further in just a moment.
Okay.
But first, I want to encourage our listeners to consider this. Does this man's story, as extreme as it may seem, resonate with you at all? Have you ever felt that fear of being judged?
Yeah.
Of not measuring up to some invisible standard?
Right.
I think it's something we can all relate to in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. This story, I mean, it really taps into that that primal fear of rejection, that deep-seated worry that we're not worthy of love and acceptance. And I think, it's a fear that can manifest in so many different ways. Often leading us down paths we end up regretting later.
It is incredibly heartening to see the way some of these commenters are really trying to help him reframe his thinking.
Yeah, like offering support.
Yeah, so many are encouraging him to embrace self-compassion and challenge those internalized judgments he's carrying.
There's a real sense of collective wisdom almost emerging in some of the responses. People sharing their own experiences, offering these alternative perspectives on intimacy, really emphasizing the power of self-forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's almost like a virtual support group online.
Right.
Offering guidance and validation.
One commenter wrote, and I thought this was really powerful, they said, "You're not tainted or broken or unworthy of love. We are allowed to make mistakes."
Right.
It's just such a simple yet profound statement, It's a powerful reminder that we're all human.
Yeah.
And that our worthiness isn't determined by our past actions.
Absolutely. And I think that's a crucial message.
Yeah.
Especially in a culture that often promotes perfectionism and shame. I mean, we're constantly bombarded with all these images and messages that suggest we need to be flawless, achieve some unattainable ideal. It's no wonder so many people struggle with feeling inadequate.
It's so true. And another commenter brings up a really, I think, interesting point.
Yeah.
About the woman involved. They say she cried because he saw her humanity and apologized. I'm sure that is rare for her.
Wow.
It really makes you think about the emotional labor involved in sex work and the stigma these women often face,
Yeah, we rarely stop to consider their perspective.
It's a stark reminder that we need to approach these conversations, I think, with empathy and nuance, recognizing the agency and experiences of everyone involved. It's so easy to get caught up in one person's narrative.
Right.
And forget that there are other people impacted by these choices.
Exactly.
It also makes me wonder, if his guilt is truly about harming the woman or more about violating his own internal moral code,
Right.
It's almost as if he's punishing himself for not living up to some ideal that might not even be realistic or healthy.
Right. And I think that's where self-awareness and critical thinking become absolutely essential. It's about examining those ingrained beliefs and asking ourselves, are these values truly serving us?
Yeah.
Or are they holding us back from living these authentic and fulfilling lives?
Another commenter recommended therapy, writing, "You sound like you just need some therapy. You get one shot at this life. Try to have some fun, man. This planet is a wild place full of adventure. Go and participate."
I love that.
And I think that's such an important takeaway.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need that professional guidance, to help us unpack those complex emotions and develop healthier coping mechanisms.
Absolutely. And seeking therapy is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Yeah.
It's an investment in your well-being and a powerful step toward creating a more positive and fulfilling future.
There's that saying, right? You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
If we're constantly consumed by guilt and shame, we can't show up fully for ourselves or for others.
Exactly. And it's never too late to embark on that journey of self-discovery and healing.
This whole conversation keeps circling back to something you mentioned earlier about societal expectations. This man seems trapped in a cycle of judgment, both from himself and from the perceived expectations of others.
He's clearly internalized those societal messages. Yeah.
About what it means to be a good man. And he's now using them as a weapon against himself.
It's like a textbook example of how these rigid norms can just erode our self-worth.
Absolutely.
And prevent us from experiencing genuine connection.
It makes you question the validity of those expectations, Do they actually reflect what's truly important in a loving and healthy relationship?
That's a question we all need to grapple with, I think.
Absolutely. Both individually and as a society.
Yeah.
We need to have more open and honest conversations about what truly matters in relationships,
Right.
Moving beyond those superficial markers of purity or experience, what are we really prioritizing?
It's about shifting the focus, I think, from judgment to understanding.
Yeah.
From shame to acceptance.
And recognizing that everyone's journey is unique.
And that our past experiences, however challenging they might have been, can shape us into the complex and resilient individuals we are today.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful so far, I think.
It has.
But before we wrap things up, I think let's take a moment to recap some of the key takeaways, consider what they might mean for our listeners. I mean, what does this all mean, right, for you, the listener?
Right.
I think a key takeaway here is the importance of self-compassion and the courage to challenge those limiting societal expectations we've been talking about.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we are all worthy of love and connection, regardless of our past experiences.
Yeah.
And that seeking help, whether it's from friends, family, a therapist, it can be a really powerful step towards healing and growth.
As we've been kind of unpacking this Reddit post, one line keeps sticking with me. He writes, "I just hope I don't get a date because I feel so ashamed."
Wow.
It's as if he's so caught up in his own guilt that he's pushing away the very thing he desires.
Right.
Connection.
It's a classic example of how shame can become so self-sabotaging.
Right.
He's convinced himself he's unworthy of love. And so he's unconsciously creating these barriers to protect himself from being hurt.
It's almost as if he's rejecting himself before anyone else even has the chance to.
Exactly. And that's a very common coping mechanism, especially for people who have experienced, trauma or rejection in the past.
Right.
But ultimately, I mean, it prevents them from experiencing the joy and the fulfillment that comes from genuine, authentic connection.
So if you're listening to this right now and you're relating to this man's story, maybe even feeling a bit of that same shame or regret.
Yeah.
What can you do? I mean, where do you go from here?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Recognize that you're not alone in these feelings, I mean. Shame is a universal human emotion.
Right.
And it's often intensified by these societal pressures and expectations.
And remember, I mean, like we've been discussing, those expectations deserve to be challenged.
Absolutely.
Ask yourself, are they truly serving you?
Yeah.
Or are they holding you back from living an authentic and fulfilling life?
And seeking professional help can be incredibly valuable. A therapist can provide a safe and supportive space to really explore these complex emotions and help you develop healthier coping mechanisms.
It's all about making that shift, I think, from self-judgment to self-compassion, from isolation to connection.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that your worthiness, it's not defined by your past actions, but by your capacity for growth, for empathy, for love.
I think we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
And we really hope it's given you some food for thought.
Absolutely.
If you'd like to continue this conversation, we invite you to share your reflections on our YouTube channel, Sean Apologises.
That's a great idea.
Your insights might just help someone else feel less alone.
Absolutely.
In their struggles.
And if you're enjoying these deep dives, we'd love for you to subscribe to our podcast, Voices of the Soul.
Yes.
For more thought-provoking discussions.
Remember, I mean, we're all on this journey together.
Right. We are.
And even in the darkest of moments, there's always hope for healing and growth.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.